and welcome to the MotherRucker podcast. My name is Lizanne and I'm here to chat to you about all things Sling every single week. With me today is the wonderful Kristin Jenkins, who is a baby-wearing consultant based in Ibiza. She runs the Ibiza Sling Library alongside her online consultancy and her online baby-wearing education. Kristin, hi.
Hi, Lizanne. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, lovely. Thank you so much for joining me today, live all the way from
That
Ibiza.
is okay.
How's the weather today?
So we are with typical British weather today. It is grey skies. It is piddling it down, but it's still warm. It's just humid and hot and sticky. So, yeah.
Oh, good. So Kristin is here to talk to us today about baby wearing in the heat. Obviously, being in Ibiza, usually it is nice and warm there. But before we get into that, Kristin, just tell us a bit about yourself. So what does your family look like?
So basically there's me and my partner, Danny. We have been together for 12 years and we have got 2 children. Felix is 5.5 and Ren is 2.5. Ren was born here and Felix was born in Leeds.
Oh, cool. So when did you move to Ibiza?
I first came to Ibiza. I done my A-levels. I came to Ibiza on a girls' holiday when we was 18. As soon as college was out, we came over for 2 weeks. Absolutely fell in love with the island. I ended up meeting some guys that were living here and working here, which I didn't really think was something that people did. Absolutely fell in love with that idea. Flew home, put my things in the washing machine, booked a flight for a couple of days later, booked 2 nights in a hostel, flew back over on my own, found a job. So yeah, since I was 18, so I came back every summer for 6 summers from when I was 18. The second summer that I was here, I met Danny, and yeah, we basically came back every summer until 2012, and for some reason we didn't come back after that. We stayed in Leeds. I think we might have had our sensible heads on for a couple of years. Then my little boy Felix was born, and we basically, when he was 2.5, we decided to come back to the islands just to investigate and explore, see what it might be like to live here as a family. And literally the moment we stepped off the plane and got in the car, we were like, oh my God, we just feel like we're home. Yeah. Everything about it just felt right. We ended up having a little look on Spanish Rightmove to see what the property situation was like. We found a house, we went to view it, went back for a second viewing, went home back to Leeds, signed the contracts, paid the deposit, and then I think a couple of days later found out that I was pregnant with Ren.
Oh,
so that kind of caused a little bit of anxiety, like not know it, right, can I move to Ibiza, can I have a baby in Ibiza? Spent the summer doing a lot of research, like how can we make this happen. Connected with a doula that works on the island who worked alongside a midwife. So yeah, I felt really reassured about moving back over halfway through a pregnancy. So we've basically been here since September 2017. I moved back over when I was 18 weeks pregnant.
Wow.
And here we are. So we've almost done 3 years.
So what were you doing for work in between? Obviously you had the summers in Ibiza. So what were you doing for work then, and what were you doing for work prior to having Felix and Ren and moving to the island full time?
So summers, obviously I was working here. I was very much involved in the world of events. When we were back in the UK during the winters, I was working primarily supporting adults with learning disabilities, a lot of elderly care, and then the last position that I was in before I left to go on maternity, I was working within the NHS doing rehabilitation support work. So if people were coming out of hospital, maybe they had experienced a stroke, heart attack, just general illness, I would be there with them in their home, looking at ways that I could help support a person to get back into their daily routine. So I was working with the occupational therapists who were providing care plans, helping kind of guide people back into daily life. So not going in and like doing things for them, but helping them find ways to cope with life, having experienced whatever illness they had come out of hospital with, basically.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Really rewarding as well. So
I've always like kind of been focused on like working with other people and like supporting other people
and helping other people.
And I think that's just like, I think that's transferred really nicely across in becoming a baby wearing consultant, because now obviously that focus is on helping parents find ways on their transition into parenthood. So I think there's been like a lot of transferable skills come across there.
I think there's a common theme with a lot of us consultants and sling librarians is before we had kids and we found this world, a lot of us have come from, I mean, a lot of us used to be teachers. I used to be a teacher. But a lot of us have come from those caring vocational backgrounds where we do spend a lot of time. You know, we want to help people, and it seems that a lot of us in this industry do have the same kind of background. So it's always really interesting to hear where people have come from and how they got here. So when did you start carrying? Did you start with Felix?
Yes. So I started carrying with Felix. So Felix was born in October 2014. I found out I was pregnant in the January of 2014, which was completely unexpected, hit me like a brick wall. I really just didn't know what I was going to do, how I was going to cope, how I was going to transition from this very sort of hedonistic lifestyle where I just disappeared wherever I wanted to go, following the fun.
Where you were so free.
Yeah. I mean, you look back when you've got kids and you're like, wow, I would like no strings attached, is there at all ever? So
that's it,
I was just really concerned about how I was going to transition from this really sort of free lifestyle into, okay, I'm going to have a kid. I need to like, do you know what I mean? I need to calm down a little bit.
Yeah.
So basically like this idea came into my head. Okay, I've seen people like they carry their kids around with them. It looks like they're just kind of carrying on with their everyday life with this kid strapped to them, and it all looks hunky-dory. And for me, I saw a way that I could retain like my past life whilst having my babies with me at all times. It was a coping mechanism, even before he was born. So I began obviously investigating. I bought a cheap stretchy wrap off eBay, and that's where it all started. Carried Felix from when he was very young, not from birth, maybe into like the first or second week, but it didn't take long for me to see the benefits. Like I could put the Hoover around the house, I could go out, I could go for a walk, I could go into town. It just made life so much easier, and it just felt right. So that was
definitely.
Just over 5.5 years ago now.
And was this in Leeds? Sorry.
In Leeds. So started using the stretchy wrap. I don't think I used it for very long. I then discovered West Yorkshire Sling Library. So I went to see a lot of my early learning came from Nicola at West Yorkshire Sling Library. She was fantastic. I think I was there most weeks rummaging through the carriers. Literally trying all the carriers. I was just like, wow, this is amazing. And that's when I fell down the rabbit hole. So I'll blame Nicola.
Oh yeah, well, as you know now, being on the other side of it, enabling new people, and when you get those people that come along and they pop up and you know they're going to get hooked as well, because a lot of people use our services and they love it and they get on well with it, and it's a tool for them. But then like us, it becomes an integral part of who we are as a parent, and you fall down the rabbit hole, and then an obsession. That's a good word. Yeah. Well, obsessive enough so that we now own hundreds of slings. But yeah.
I think it's just I think owning a sling library and a business that revolves around slings is just kind of some sort of cover up that you can have this extended stash of things that you can keep trying.
Exactly, and you can play with, and they're so pretty, and and they make your life easier as well. That's So a really hard question now. What is your favorite carrier?
Oh my goodness, it is a difficult question.
That you use, not for your clients, not for anyone, for you.
For me. Yeah. So it's been different actually between the two. So when Felix was young, I ended up kind of transitioning down the woven wrap route. I got really hooked on, trying all the different ways you can use a woven wrap.
Oh yeah.
Which I did start with Wren, but my all-time favorite has got to be either a hop tie or a diddy tie. I just love them so much. Yeah.
What do you love about them?
I just love how they feel. They're just like a hug. They're just like a hug. And I like using woven wraps, but for me, then they're not my favorite. And I feel like with the wrap ties, you can just get that same sensation without so much of the technical aspect. Yeah,
they are that perfect halfway between a woven and a buckle. Especially for people who love the stretchy and they want that cuddly feeling again.
It's the spread fabric over your back. I just like the fabric spread over my back rather than the straps of a carrier in like one single point. But I do like buckle carriers as well. Oh
yeah, no. Well, I love all slings, but we all have our particular favorites. Did you have a particular design of one that you owned that you really loved? Is there a particular design or colorway that you like? The wrap ties, your favorite wrap ties,
I love the Liska. I love the Liska. So even for a wrap, I'd pick up a Liska. I'm very tactile. I like soft things on my skin. So very much, I love a Liska. It's just soft and cuddly and nice.
Yeah. Brill. So for people listening who may not be familiar, Didymos have a herringbone pattern style with this weave, which gives a really, really nice texture. And that means that not only does it soften up nice and quickly because it has this additional texture, but it also has a really, really nice grip when the fibers cross over each other. So it also holds in place really nicely. And they've released this weave, the herringbone design. I thought it was Leisha. I think because it's German. Is it a hard C or a soft C?
I'm not sure. There's so many.
Didymos are a German brand, and we may get a lot of feedback coming in after the release of this episode about the correct pronunciation of Liska. But anyway, they release it as you can get it as a woven wrap, as a ring sling, as a diddy tie, a diddy click. Basically, whatever Didymos can turn it into, they've made it.
To grab one?
Oh yes, grab one. Yeah, so that everyone watching can see it. Love it. You had one straight away on that shelf behind you. Is this your studio behind you? Your workspace.
In my little studio.
Lovely.
Let me get. This is
it. Oh, it's such a gorgeous colour. So it looks like a tealy green from a distance.
Yeah.
And then, with the herringbone, when you bring it close, you can see it's actually the two different colours. So are they both a dark green? Yeah, so it's a dark green and then a lighter green.
There's it's an emerald green with a like a navy blue.
Yeah. Gorgeous. Yeah. That's lovely.
My favourite. It's super soft.
They're so soft, aren't they? I've got a red one. I've got a red one in that weave. which always goes out, especially for newborns, because it's just so soft. Right, so we'd better get chatting about baby wearing in the heat, really, as much as I love gushing about carriers. So how did you then start Ibiza Sling Library / your consultancy?
Obviously, I came here when I was pregnant. I'd had a home birth with Felix in Leeds, and I knew very much that I wanted that experience again when Ren came along. Unfortunately, the state healthcare system here doesn't offer home births. It's not an option. Not an option to home birth here. So there's probably about 3 or 4 independent teams offering home births here. I'd already connected with a doula, a British doula, and she worked alongside a wonderful midwife who was offering home births. So I met up with them. I kind of just got to know them. We went through our early meetups, and something that came up was, is there a Sling library here? And is there a breastfeeding support group? Because I'd had so many feeding issues with Felix, and La Leche in Leeds had supported me no end through the troubles that I had. So for me, it was really important to touch base with just some sort of parenting group, ideally breastfeeding support group. And I'd had so much fun using West Yorkshire Sling Library. I was hoping that there might be something similar here, and they were just like, no, there's nothing really in terms of parent support. So I kind of got it in my head. I was like, okay, well, maybe I can set up my own Sling library, or maybe I can set up my own feeding support group. Ren was born in the February 2018. In the April, we travelled back to the UK. I done a peer support course with Victoria at the School of Baby Wearing. Sort of in preparation for setting up the Sling Library. So before I even got a chance to set up the Sling Library, I came back to the UK to do my full consultancy training with Lorette at Sling a Baby. So that was in August 2018, and then in October 2018, a girl that I'd met on the island who was like very into similar things as me in terms of like feeding, attachment parenting, she was really keen to set up a group with me. So we went ahead and just set up a kind of a general parent support group. So not so much a mum and baby group, but a place where like new parents could come and connect with other parents and start building support network, get a broom, bit of cake.
That's amazing. That's
so
fantastic.
It's just really always cake. So it's just really evolved from there. So it's basically what we do when there isn't a worldwide pandemic is we meet up. I take all my slings with me every week, so people can come, they can have a rummage, they can ask me any questions that they want, and then it just kind of turns into more of like a peer support group, you know. Everyone's supporting each other, like everyone turns up with like what troubles they've had during that week, and then maybe another mum might say, oh well, I've discovered this might help you. So rather than it being like someone telling you what you should or shouldn't be doing, it's just like a collective where everyone's really just got each other's back. Which is really nice.
Oh, that's so lovely. What a fantastic group for you to have established together and built up. So before COVID hit, how popular was it?
Oh, well, I mean, it could vary. We can vary from like maybe just a couple of mums one week to, I think the busiest we've had a group of about 15, 20 mums plus
Amazing.
kids.
And
and it's good. I mean, it's such a multicultural place as well.
I
mean, we do default in that English is the kind of second spoken language of most people. So everyone's able to communicate, but everyone's just from such a vast variety of different backgrounds. And it's just nice. It's just a nice cultural melting pot. So everyone's bringing different ideas from different cultures that they've come from as well, which makes it really nice and diverse.
Oh, that's so wonderful. So then you can all learn from each other and develop. That sounds fantastic. That's amazing. Okay, so how hot usually does it get in Ibiza?
We're in July. Things start heating up around May, things start heating up. And I mean, now during July, we're kind of in bearable temperatures, like 30 to 35 most days, if it isn't raining and grey like today.
Yeah.
It's a breath of fresh air when we do get an overcast day.
Nice break.
But funnily enough, it popped up on my phone last week. You know, when you get a memory pop up, like what you was doing this time last year, and I must have taken a picture of the temperature dial, and it was 43 this time last year. And yeah, I was only just thinking the other day, we've not gone through any kind of severe heat waves yet, which is quite unusual. But I know I was not here during August last year.
Yeah.
And during the heat waves, it was really it was 50. I mean, the mainland pushing 55.
Wow.
I mean, like intense heats. They had the misters, you know, and you see them in the bars, and they're just spraying the mist constantly to try and keep people cool. So it does get hot. Yeah.
Obviously in the UK, we don't get quite that hot. But obviously we do still get heat waves. It does still get hot. And I'm sure, as you remember from living in the UK and working with new mums and working with mums on the island, a massive concern is babies overheating in slings and carriers. So obviously from both of our training, we know that in general, babies are absolutely fine to be carried in carriers in hot weather. But are there any particular carriers that you either really love or you find is really popular on the island for parents carrying in hot weather?
I mean, there definitely are carriers that are thinner and probably a bit more suited to warmer climate. Something that I've noticed, so this is my third summer here now, and what I noticed between places like the UK that don't have that constant hot weather and places like Spain that are, you know, we are in the hot weather for a vast majority of the time, is that I think when the sun comes out in the UK, people feel very drawn to like be out and go out and be doing things. Whereas when it's sunny here, we get out, we go, we run our errands early before it starts really hotting up. And then as soon as the kind of midday temperatures come in, people are generally out of the sun, they are inside. So you don't generally see people, do you know what I mean, out just leisurely walking, like using carriers during that point in the day.
In Spain, it's siesta time, isn't it?
So siesta generally starts around 1 o'clock. Everything shuts down and reopens at around 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then it will then stay open till maybe 8, 9, even later. So
sure. And that's to avoid the heat.
Yeah, that's to avoid the heat. So people are generally up and doing things early during the day. But if you are out and you're using a carrier, I mean, obviously if you need to pop to the shop, to the supermarket during that time, then maybe you would want to use a carrier that's going to be a little bit more forgiving in the heat. And there definitely are carriers that I do like to use. For example, the Integra Baby Solar is a fantastic carrier in the heat, buckle carrier.
Love that one. Because a couple of other features with the Solar and why they're so fab for hot weather is because they're also 95 to 99% UVA, UVB protective. Which is really helpful. And you can wear them in water because they're super quick drying. Obviously, don't swim with your baby in a sling.
No. But if you're on the beach and you're splashing, and especially if you've got another child that you need to take care of, having around by the water, having a younger baby in the sling, so you've got both of your hands free. For me, that's been a lifesaver because Felix was 3.5. When Ren was kind of experiencing her first summer, we were going to the beach. Another sling that I really enjoyed using is I don't know how to pronounce this one either, Meliapis.
I actually asked Antonia because I wasn't sure.
You can clear it up.
Everyone says something different. So she said it's pronounced Meliapis, and she said literally as in taking the piss.
Oh, so, right, okay.
Yeah,
Meliapis.
Meliapis. Yeah, and
what is the origin of that word? Like what?
I believe, I think it's a type of bee.
Oh,
because,
really?
Yeah, because obviously
yeah,
she's from Manchester, and so Manchester has the bee as its emblem, the worker bee.
Right, okay.
I think it's all linked in and tied to that.
Oh, fantastic! I like
yeah.
a backstory. Fab.
Yeah, but yeah, the Meliopis,
the water ring sling.
Oh yes.
I use the water ring sling. It's super thin. It's really comfortable. The rings aren't plastic. They're the galvanized rings, which is really nice. The fabric moves through the rings really smoothly, and it's just super secure. So I use that a lot when Ren was between, say, 4 and 7 months. Like a lot of the beaches that we go to anyway, they sort of shallow beaches all the way out.
Oh, so lovely.
Felix could be playing in the water. I would be maybe up to my waist with Ren in the water ring sling, and it meant that I was there. My hands were free if Felix was getting into any troubles with his swimming.
Yeah.
I've been using it with Ren these last couple of weeks because it's been really hot.
Yeah.
And they're just nice and breathable. The fabric's nice and breathable. They have like little holes in the mesh. So it's just, and she's 2.5, and she's still within the weight limit, and it's still provided quite a lot of comfort.
That's amazing. Yeah. Antonia with Meliopis, she also does a really nice range of muslin ring slings.
Yes, I'm really keen to try one.
Yeah, they're so popular in my library as well, because obviously, as you can imagine, just being muslin, it's 2 pieces layered very thinly over top of each other.
Okay.
And they're just absolutely divine. I got one when Dexter was just after he turned 1 for his first summer in the UK. When I'm wearing it with him on, I can feel the breeze of the wind, if there is any. Yes. I can feel the breeze of the wind coming through the fabric and actively cooling us down, because it's so nice and thin, but it's so supportive. I have found with those though, because the max weight limit is 13 kilos.
Okay.
But I have found that when Dexter got to 2 years old, and now Trixie's just turned 2, that now when they're in it, they are obviously getting close to that top weight limit. Yeah. For them, it's not as comfortable as a fuller woven wrap ring sling, because the fabric does bunch up a bit. So I think this is going to be my last summer using mine, because we're not having any more babies. I know. And then I'll have to decide what to do with it. But the muslin ring slings for smaller babies that do want to be on you constantly, and the mesh ones as well that she makes when they want to be on you constantly in summer, it's just, they're fantastic. I think that's going to be at the top of my wish list for my next purchases then, for the library. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Get one. They're lush and they're really pretty. She's got some really pretty prints on them as well. But cool. So you love the Integra and the Meliopis water ring sling. Any other favourites? Yeah, so for smaller babies, I am a huge fan of stretchy wraps. I know people get a little bit concerned because each layer of the sling counts as a layer of clothing. Obviously, with a stretchy wrap, you need them 3 layers. Obviously, thicker stretchy wraps are not really going to be that suitable when it's super hot, because then that's like 3 layers of thick fabric over baby. But there are some really amazing thinner stretchy wraps which I really love. The Caregivers viscose stretchy, they're super soft, they are super thin, they're a 2-way stretchy, they're very user friendly, they're easy to use, they're shorter, they tie at the back so you're not swamped in excess fabric. And my second favorite, which is something that I've only been introduced to this past sort of 6 months or more, is an American brand called Solly Baby. Yes, I've heard of them. They are thinner than the Caregivers wraps, but they are a one-way stretch. Oh, one way, right. Let me grab. Do you want me to grab? Oh yeah, go on. Yeah, and while you're plugging it, I'll explain to people about 2-way and 1-way. So with stretchy wraps, you get 2 predominant types. You do get a hybrid, but there's 2 main types. There is a 1-way stretchy, where the fabric stretches in one direction, which is usually the width of the fabric. And then you get 2-way stretchies, where the fabric stretches in 2 directions. So the fabric will stretch widthways and lengthways. Typically, two-way stretchies are easier for parents to use because the fabric is a lot more forgiving in terms of how tight you need to get it. So it's a lot easier that way for newer parents with newborns who are sleep deprived. And a one-way stretchy, I don't know about you, Kristen, but I found that with a one-way stretchy, it's sometimes a bit easier to tie it as if it was a woven wrap as a front wrap cross carry.
Yeah, you can definitely do it that way. Do you know what? The more experience that I've gotten with using a one-way, the more I've fallen in love with them.
Oh, really?
I love the support that a one-way gives you now. And I'm kind of like not preferring them, but I can really see a lot more value in them, especially if if you want to use it for a longer period of time, you're definitely going to be able to carry heavier, bigger children with a one-way stretchy. So obviously gravity will find pockets of loose fabric, and with the one-way stretch it's kind of it locks almost, so like a woven wrap really.
Yeah. Did you grab one? Yeah, let's see it.
Yes, so I'm gonna see if I can.
Cool. Oh, it's got a lovely kind of ginghamy checked pattern on it. So is it a grey and cream?
It's like a beige, it's like a stony colour.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's lovely.
And
are they based in California, Solly Wrap? Have I made that up?
Yeah, I think maybe San Diego.
Sure.
I'm not sure, but yeah, these are, I mean, they're super thin. They're definitely thinner than the Calin Blur wrap. And I think fabric wise, again, it's made from a viscose fabric. So even though the process for making something that is viscose is a man-made process, but the original product comes from a wood pulp. So I think maybe this is from a birch wood pulp. And I'm not sure what the original wood is that is used in the Calin Blur, but also this one is nice and thin as well.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, I'm a fan still of using stretchy wraps in the summer when it's warm, but just using fabrics that are thinner and breathable as well. So staying away from thicker wraps. I wouldn't really recommend to use like the thicker boba wraps in the summer, especially when you're kind of talking 30 to 40 degree temperatures. It's just a little bit too much. We do get winters here as well. It's not like it's sunny all year round. Well, it's sunny, but you know, we get the fire on in the winter. So I do have like the thicker wraps as well in the library, because they are fantastic. Like things like boba and Moby, they are fantastic wraps as well. So it's nice for people to kind of try different things as well in the winter.
Yeah. Another common thing that a lot of my clients want to know as well about baby wearing in the summer is baby wearing in the heat, is what to wear. So what to wear for themselves and what to wear for their babies. So what do you find it works well?
Well, I guess it really comes down to individual preferences. Some people are going to be like people that get hotter and sweaty, and some people might just kind of stay cool and calm, you know, and not really be affected so much by the heat. But if you are the sort of person that gets really warm, then obviously less is best. Or sometimes actually, if you can wear thin long sleeves, so like a thin cotton, that can often keep you cool. And with baby, you can just have them in just a nappy. They don't have to be fully clothed, or maybe they can just be in a vest, just to be wary obviously of their little arms and legs that are exposed to the sun outside of the carrier, making sure you've got appropriate sun protection on. If you're putting sun cream on, then making sure that you're putting the sun cream on maybe 10-20 minutes before you're putting them into the carrier and giving it a chance to soak in and not kind of getting sun cream all over your beautiful carriers.
Yeah, because it's so hard to get sun cream out of carriers.
Oh, I know.
You find it when they come back from holiday, when they've been on hire and they come back and someone's used sun cream and it's gone on the carrier. And I know a few other libraries have had to write carriers off because of sun cream damage. So Yeah, that's a really good tip, to put it on 10 to 20 minutes before putting them in the carrier, so it can really, really soak in.
Yeah.
I will remember that.
Something that I discovered that I love as well is, obviously you need to keep the head covered and keep the hat on them. But if you've got like a soft hat that's not kind of like a peak cap, if you wet the hat and wring it out so you've got a wet hat, that keeps baby nice and cool as well.
Ah, that is another really good top tip. Thank you.
Like the wet hat. And we went through a phase with Ren, as I'm sure many parents have. You put the hat on. Nope, I don't want the hat. Keeps throwing the hat off. And I discovered these little baby bandanas in a shop, just like a structured bandana, not a loose one, although you could just use a scarf. And I just used to wet the bandana and put this wet bandana on her head. She looked like a little mini biker gang member.
Oh, that sounds so cute.
I used to put the little baby bandana on instead of the hat, and she was quite happy to keep that on them.
Yeah.
So just maybe exploring some different options in terms of some protection for their head.
Oh, that's adorable. So one thing that I always like to remind parents about as well is the effect that skin to skin has on how babies learn to regulate their body temperature. So obviously when babies are inside, they're kept in that perfect 37.5 degrees centigrade bubble of loveliness, unless mummy has a fever or something, then it will change. And then when they're born, they then obviously come straight onto the skin of the parent so that they don't go into shock because they're experiencing a massive temperature drop. I think the benefits of skin to skin on temperature regulation needs to be talked about more antenatally to parents, so they understand more of what skin to skin can do for temperature regulation. And I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but did you want to chat a little bit about what you found about having babies skin to skin in the heat?
Do you know what? It's really mental over here, because if you parents who are like not baby wearing, they've got the kid, it's like super, super hot. They've got the kids in like fleecy blankets, long sleeves, hats. I'm like, oh my God.
In Ibiza?
Like, they're
oh
just
my God.
I used to go out with Ren in the Sling, and they'd be like, oh, frio. I'm like, no, not frio.
It's 35 degrees.
I was like, they're trying to tell me she's cold, and I'm there like fanning myself. It's really difficult to draw comparisons, because they're just like not phased at all.
So when Trixie was 8 weeks old, we went on a week-long all-inclusive holiday to Cyprus for Neil's sister's wedding. It was all arranged before I was pregnant with Trixie. So thankfully she was born in time. But obviously Dexter was 2 at the same time. So it was not a relaxing holiday at all because we had 2 very small children.
How old was Trixie, sorry, at this point?
8 weeks.
Oh, right, okay.
8 weeks. Yeah, very young. And we took loads of slings with us, lots of hot weather slings. But one thing that we found when it was really hot outside, obviously we'd be in the shade or we'd be in the inside in the hotel with the aircon. But when we were outside, she was never put in direct heat, obviously. But we found if we put her down for whatever reason, like on a lounger, and we'd make sure she was safe and couldn't fall off. Not that she was rolling by then, but happens to us all. So we'd put her down, and we found that within 5 minutes of putting her down, she would start sweating. Right. Which you don't want in an 8-week-old baby. You don't want them to be sweating because they're losing what precious little fluids they have in them already. And so we then found that as soon as we then put her in a sling, even a 3-layer stretchy, and we took the Joy and Joe bamboo stretchy with us, the orange one with the purple skulls on.
Yes, he's on the
you've got one
shelf
behind you. I saw. We took one
and
of those.
Obviously, like bamboo's really breathable fabric as well, so it's going to like bring the heat away from the body and into the atmosphere around you. So perfect. And it's naturally hypoallergenic as well, and it's stronger than cotton. Which is I think it's amazing. And so we found that whenever we had her in the stretchy, like Neil wore her most and I would spend most of my time helping Dexter. We found that whenever she was in the stretchy,
we would sweat, but she wouldn't.
Yes.
And that, I mean, Neil would be obviously topless because he'd be by the pool in his swim shorts, and he'd have her in the stretch top and she'd be in just a nappy. And we found that even though it was about 35 degrees outside nearly every day, it was a September, that it was actually safer for her to be on us in the 3 layers of a thin stretchy than it was for her to be put down and sleep independently from us. The power of skin to skin and the effect that has on our baby's temperature regulation is amazing. You know, growing up, we were always taught that our skin is an organ, but we're not really told necessarily all the functions. And it's that responsiveness of our baby's skin being in contact with our skin that then the baby's brain picks up on what our skin is doing to manage our temperature. And that's how baby learns to regulate their temperature, because they can't do it. And it's so magical. And more parents need to be told about that, because it has the same effect in winter to stop your baby getting too cold. Because they're
it's
on
fantastic.
us. And we can add the additional layers around us, which is why, as you know, we don't advocate the use of thick, bulky sleep suits or snow suits or pram suits in slings ever, for many reasons. But having them skin to skin, the more skin to skin contact, even just sometimes I find just their cheek on that part of your chest,
just their face on your chest,
that has a massive effect on how their body regulates their temperature and keeps them safe, and how helps their body to learn about their temperature. So have you ever found that with Felix or Ren when you're carrying them in the heat?
I'm just thinking back now to, I think it must have been late July, so Ren would have been March, April, May, June. She'd been 5 months, and I think she was just kind of going through her first fever. So she had a fever. It was definitely during a heat wave, so it was probably she had a fever. It was probably about 40 degrees.
Wow.
So I just
really scary for you as well.
So I found it the best way to deal with the fever, even though it wasn't spiking, it wasn't like overly high. She was hot to touch and she was unwell. The best way for me to manage that fever was to have her in a thin wrap. I was using the Calin Blur woven wrap. So having her skin to skin with me was just like the most comfortable place for her. And that was helping her regulate her body temperature during her first illness. So a really, really strong memory, actually. And into skin.
And when there's so little we can do to help them when they're ill, aside from, pretty much all we can do, obviously getting them appropriate medical care when necessary, but it's holding them close and reassuring them, and when it is hot outside, we still want to do that, and we still need to do that for them. So having a really lovely thin wrap, that must have brought you both some comfort.
For sure.
You're able to help her too.
Absolutely.
Right, so ordinarily at this point I would ask you a surprise listener question. However, as this is only episode 2 of the podcast and the first episode hasn't been released yet at the time of recording, we don't have any listener questions, so we don't need to worry about that bit. So my next section is your top tip for carrying for parents and caregivers. What is your absolute number one tip you would give anyone who's looking to carry their child of whatever age?
I mean, God, there's so many, isn't there?
I know.
But for me, if someone comes to me and like they're new and they want to know where to start, like obviously it can be really overwhelming. If you type into Google baby carriers, like boom, there's just so much information. Like, how do you navigate through all this? So if someone comes to me and they're new and they really kind of just starting out, something that I always say to people is like, what do you want from it? Really take some time to consider like what you want from a sling. Like, why do you want to carry? Who do you want? Like, who's going to be carrying? Who are you going to be carrying? Like, where do you live? Do you live in a hot place? Do you live in a cold place? Do you want a sling that's going to last you from when they're born through to being a toddler, or are you happy to kind of change it up? as your requirements change, because carrying journeys are quite transient, like they're evolving and changing as like your baby's needs change, they grow, they get different requirements. So really just kind of sit down and have a think about what you want. If you don't know what you want, then maybe look for some communities that you can join, start reading about what other people are talking about, listen to other people's experiences, and just kind of start to gather this idea of what you want. And this is something that I talk about in my new mini course that I'm releasing in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be a free mini course, and part of that is helping parents work through like what do they want to get from it, like what considerations do you need to make when you're thinking about getting a carrier. So yeah, just taking time and not jumping into buying like the number one thing that's on Amazon, or the thing that's getting recommended the most, because there are hundreds to choose from. Even if you see one and you think you really like this and you try it on and you don't like it, yes, you might be disappointed, and that's okay. But there are just so many other options, and there's definitely an option out there for everyone. So yeah. Just consider your options, really. Consider what you want.
Definitely. No, that's a really, really good tip, is just to have a look around and think about what you want from a carrier. Love that. And you're doing a mini course about it.
Yeah, I'm going to release, like, it's a free mini course. It's called Babywearing Starter Kit, and it's going to be for new parents who are just starting out and are literally just overwhelmed with everything. They don't really know where to start. They don't know the differences between different types of carriers. And then there's going to be a section talking about like human ancestry and our genetics, and how our genetics influence why we carry, basically, and why we are so driven to keep our children close.
Amazing. It's not fantastic.
So I'm really excited to release that. So if you're interested in signing up for the course, enrollment's not open yet, but if you go to kristinjenkins.com, there'll be a sign-up form there, so I can let you know as soon as the enrollment is open for it, and it's totally free. So
that's really exciting. I'll pop a link to that in the show notes as well, so people can click through and find it. That sounds great. Oh, Kristin, thank you so much for appearing on the podcast. I've really enjoyed our chat. It's been lovely.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
You are so welcome. So aside from your website, www.kristinjenkins.com, where else can people find you if they want to follow up?
So a few options. I'm on Facebook, just Kristin Jenkins, my name. The handle is at the Babywearing Consultant. Instagram is at the.babywearing.consultant.
Lovely.
Or I have a free Facebook group for new parents who are wanting to get into baby wearing, and it's called Babywearing for Beginners, and that's free to join.
Oh, lovely. Brilliant. Well, thank you again. And
thank you for having me.
You are so welcome, lovely.
Thank you.